Hey, everybody. Welcome to our gut health conversation and the science of probiotics. We're going to dive into all things gut health and GI health today. And for those of you who do not know me, I am Gracie Hammer. I'm a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, and I am passionate about teaching people about gut health. And really, because when you get to the root cause of digestion and what's going on with digestion, a lot of imbalances, chronic pain, inflammation, hormone issues, and of course, disease in the body start to clear up. And so a lot of these issues actually come from some form of nutritional deficiency, which comes from gut health and all the things that are associated with that. So I'm going to give you guys some just knowledge on gut health as well as probiotics. And I'm pretty sure that after this presentation, you'll be grabbing your probiotics, because I have to say, teaching this and even studying up a little further on it made me realize that we're not, as a family, taking them quite as much as well. So I'm actually going to turn my video off while I teach, because my internet here in Montana isn't super great. So this will at least give us a bit of a clear picture. So all right, so as we dive into this topic of bacteria, gut bacteria, people automatically think like, oh, bacteria, it's a bad thing. But you know what? It's not. Bacteria is actually good for us, and it's everywhere, and we need it. And we live in a culture that loves to sterilize bacteria because there's a fear of it. There's a fear of viruses. There's the fear of coming in contact with something that would potentially make you sick, right? So we have this fear of bacteria. But what you guys need to know is that we want healthy bacteria. We want a diverse bacteria field within our body. And our whole bacteria field in our body is actually more diverse than the rainforest. So it's literally everywhere. We live in it. It's on us. It's vital for life. It's a big part of our gut bacteria and our gut health. So not so much in our stomach, but rather our small and our large intestine. It plays a very vital, important role in breaking down nutrients. It supports our immune cells. And we just, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. So we have bacteria more diverse than we see, than we ever even know of. So this slide here, it says it's more diverse than the rainforest. And if you look into the rainforest, obviously there's a lot happening in there. And the more still you are to listen and look around, and there's just so much happening. And that's how our bacteria field in our body should be. I actually love the analogy of our just whole GI tract as this beautiful, vibrant ocean coral reef that you would think, if you were snorkeling, it's very colorful and there's lots of little fish, and the sea and the current is actually feeding all of that coral. And if there were to be a oil spill of some sort, it would absolutely clog and kill that whole coral reef. And so our GI tract is the same when we constantly come in contact with genetically modified foods, when we're taking lots of antibiotics, when we're putting really toxic things in our body constantly, we see that whole bacteria field actually just really suffer. And so the good news is that when we give our body what it needs to heal, it does. And that's what we're talking about today, is just supporting that whole healthy bacteria field in our body. So if we talk specifically about probiotics, there are really two main roles that they play. So we have bacteria that are fighter bacteria. So they're going to fight off those bad bacteria. And then we have our bacteria that are more of our peacekeepers. So if you were to turn your bottle, if you were to turn the bottle of your, we'll say PBAssist over, or any of your different probiotics, say you bought one from the store, you would probably see some similar bacterias listed. And so it might say something like B dot something in italics. And that's usually that specific strain or species of probiotic. Or a prebiotic. And so some will say an L something, someone will, and a really common one is like L acidophilus. And so the lactobacillus is the L, and then the B is the bacillus. So you'll see a lot of those specific bacteria listed on the back of your supplement bottles. So the bacillus, the B dot, are more our fighters. So they fight off the bad bacteria in our gut, like E. coli, or potentially other foodborne pathogens that you might have come in contact with. If it's our PBAssist, they have the ability to make those antimicrobial peptides, and so they're the B bacterias, the bacillus. The names are also like technical, but it actually has the ability to make antimicrobial peptides from that specific bacteria. And so what they do is they end up eating the bad bacteria and releasing something that is kind of similar to an antibiotic that fight off those bad guys and kill those foodborne pathogens that you might have come in contact with. So this is, again, we see it's really important, especially if you're traveling or you're eating at restaurants, or potentially, the food, if you're not sure where it comes from, we talk about eating local because we know where food is coming from. It's not coming from this long supply chain that has come in contact with so many different people and hands, and maybe sat in areas for too long, creating these potentially harmful bacterias. So it is really important to have a probiotic in your diet for sure, because of all of these things. So then we have the lactic acid bacteria. This is the lactobacillus. And so they do a bit of fighting, but they create more of an acidic environment that the bacteria can't actually live in. So they're actually more of a peacekeeper. So they can go through the GI tract and help with repair. They can help to modulate our immune systems. They can also help us ingest and absorb just the key nutrients from the food and the supplements that we may not be able to absorb on our own without the help of those good bacteria. So those lactobacillus are actually really, really important. And then if we are going further into just talking about gut health, I want to talk about leaky gut. It's because it's a problem for a lot of people. And so what is leaky gut, and what happens if you suffer from it? And what can bacteria do to help with that and the healing of that? So if we go deeper and we talk about the components that play into leaky gut, I want you guys to just look at this picture right here. You can see that, oh gosh, come on. You can see the GI tract, that intestine is all lined up. So I want to talk about the barrier that protects our intestines. And it's a really important barrier when we talk about leaky gut. So that intestinal barrier, it's going to keep all like the crud on the outside and protect anything from coming on the inside, kind of like our skin does, right? Like our skin is this protective shield for everything that is underneath, all of our tissues, our lymphatic system, all of that. So it protects everything. It keeps everything that's not in our GI tract out and protects that GI tract to stay healthy. So we don't have anything coming from, potentially other tissues in the body and whatnot. So it's literally an actual physical barrier in our body that protects that GI tract. So the problem is that there can be inflammation. And when there's inflammation, a lot of times we can see tears within the tract. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why this can happen. But if that does exist, and then they actually, these leaky gut itself is linked to so many different chronic issues like IBS, asthma, celiacs, diabetes, MS. So we want to make sure that that whole intestinal barrier is really healthy and strong and it is intact fully. One of the things that I learned early on with my son and how I was even introduced to doTERRA was because my son at 2, we realized he had leaky gut. And I didn't realize he had leaky gut until he actually had a pretty bad reaction to being vaccinated. And from there, his speech changed significantly, like overnight. He had IBS, he had migraines, he had all of this stuff going on in his body. And we realized right away what was going on. And so we went into healing mode and we really decided that it would be important to put him on a diet called the GAPS diet, where it really helps with food to eliminate anything that would be potentially inflammatory to his gut and let his whole GI tract heal properly and to seal that gut back up. And I have to tell you, it was absolutely incredible, really taking out any food that would potentially be hard for his body to digest and cause inflammation, and then using the oils and probiotics. It changed his life. It was absolutely, and it changed ours as well, because that was a really scary time. So all these things are really, really important. And one of the other things, if we dive into the physical barrier in this pic, you can see, oh, hold on. Oopsie, oopsie. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So if we dive deeper into the physical barrier in this picture of the GI tract that you're looking at. So if you're looking, it's kind of like a tube. Hold on, you guys, one sec. I have to fix this. Shoot. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Here we go. All right. Now I can see which slide I'm in. Okay. So in this pic, you're looking at a GI tract as if it was kind of like cut in half and you're like looking into it and what's going on with it. So that physical barrier is on top. So you're wanting to keep all the stuff that is trying to potentially come in out of what's going on intricately in here. And you'll see at the bottom, you'll see there's these little villi, the little dots, and there's all these like all this stuff happening, all these different cells. You have all these immune cells, and you definitely, if we're looking at the epithelia cells at the very bottom. Okay, so it's like this little like hair-like cells that actually protect the and help to create mucus. So mucus is actually one of the key players in our immune system. So we have mucus in our mouth, we have it in our lungs, we have it in our eyes. It's basically anywhere it needs to potentially catch bad bacteria if it does, so it doesn't get into our intestines. So it helps to protect and catch all the things, right? So that's what, obviously mucus is gross. It's slimy and ugh, I hate mucus. It's like makes me think of saliva. It's like, ugh. But those purple cells that you can see here, the goblet cells, actually, that's what they're called. They're going to also help to create mucus. And what happens is we have, when the bad bacteria gets in there, it starts to break all of this down. And so our body naturally isn't able to create the mucus to catch those bad things. And so we start to see that whole GI tract get super irritated and it's not able to function properly and protect us. So one of the most important things is just protecting all of those little villi and making sure that they're healthy and thriving. And so one of the other important things within this picture is the tight junctions that actually hold everything together. And so it's a series of proteins. If you think about, like, if you were to put your hands together and like interlink your fingers, and a tight junction within your that physical barrier that's protecting your whole GI tract, if you were to put your hands together really tightly interwoven, that's going to be your tight junction. So that's made of all these little proteins, right? So if it's healthy, it's nice and tight and protecting all the good things inside. But if it is starting to pull apart, this is where we see leaky gut syndrome. So if we have any issues with that, then all of a sudden we start to see things leaking in and things leaking out, and it starts to circulate within the body. And so that's not good. So that's hence leaky gut syndrome. So some of the other issues this causes is just irregular immune response. We have extra pathogens getting into the immune system. So a good probiotic is going to really help to strengthen those walls and tighten things up and protect all those cells and every just really detailed, intricate job that they have to keep that whole lining healthy and thriving and alive and vibrant, right? So we need the good bacteria for repair and for health and maintenance of that whole GI wall. And so those good bacteria just go a really long way. So if we talk a little bit further about tight junctions, this is like a great slide just to visualize, what a normal tight junction looks like. So you'll see nothing is able to get through those hair-like junctions, right? They're nice and tight. It's protecting that natural bloodstream that is right below it. It looks healthy. Now, the leaky and inflamed picture, you're seeing that those junctions have pulled apart for whatever reason. There is inflammation present, there are holes, there are bacteria, there are things, proteins getting in and out. It's a disaster. And now it is actually leaking into our bloodstream, causing a host of issues. So some of the things that a lot of people don't think about when we're talking about leaky gut is, potentially if you have leaky gut, you're thinking like, oh, I get bloated and my stomach hurts, but you're not thinking about some of these other more major issues that are potentially happening. And some of those signs are really, so bloating and constipation and diarrhea are obviously all things that you would probably associate with some sort of GI issue, right? But then allergies and sensitivities to food, you would probably not think so much. But how about mood swings, feeling angry or feeling depressed, or skin issues, eczema, rosacea, diabetes? Of course, autoimmune disease is something that we're seeing a huge rise in. Fatigue, feeling super tired and sluggish, headaches. Maybe you have a hard time concentrating. Maybe your mind is all over the place. Maybe it's more of an ADD or ADHD issue. So there is a huge relationship with the gut brain, and we'll talk more on that too. So there are just things that people suffer from, and they don't always contribute it to just they don't contribute it to a GI issue. And so much of our health is actually controlled by our gut health, and from our feelings to our moods, our cravings, our hormones, and of course our immune system. So as a practitioner, when someone does come to me and says that they're having weight gain or they're having horrible hormone issues, I can right away go, okay, I definitely know that they'll always have some type of gut support that is needed. And that's why I love talking so much about this, because so many, if we clear these issues up, then we just see these symptoms, these chronic symptoms that people have been dealing with, start to subside. Okay, so what are the threats to our microbiome? Our microbiome is all that healthy bacteria field in our body. And one, for sure, not eating a diverse range of foods. We're eating more processed foods, really sugary foods, foods that have been dramatically changed and genetically modified, highly processed. All of that is going to dramatically affect our body and our GI health. So we get a lot of our digestive enzymes from different produce that we eat. And if we're drinking milk and dairy that has been highly refined, highly heated and processed, it doesn't have that healthy bacteria to actually help break it down and allow it to be just absorbed into the body for all the nutrients that it carries. So it is really important to eat a real food diet. And my rule of thumb is if it's grown in the ground or if it's raised in the wild and it's been around for hundreds of years, that's usually your test of whether it should, it's processed or not. And so it's pretty simple, but it is important to, not eat from packaged food as much as possible. And there is a time and a place. I'm more like the 80-20 person because it's not always feasible to eat perfect 100% of the time, and not everyone has access to eating uber clean all the time. So you have to do your best when you can and control the times that you have control over. So another thing, if you're eating conventional foods, you're going to be exposed more to pesticides, more antibiotics in the food. And antibiotics, they kill all the bacteria, the good and the bad. And that just seems to be such a trend these days, over cleaning. I have heard about people who bleach their fruit before they eat it. Soak it in bleach, and this is so detrimental to our health, and just the nutrients that our food carries. So using our On Guard cleaner to clean your fruit off, conventional and organic fruit, is just so important because that's going to eliminate those pesticides and those antibiotics that your food might carry. So, drinking too much alcohol is another one that's going to really affect your microbiome. Sugary drinks, especially, the sugar feeds all of that bad bacteria. And lack of regular physical exercise. The more we move our body, the better. It's great for our immune system. It gets things moving. It's really healthy for all those microbes. Of course, smoking, not getting enough sleep. Sleep is when we detox. It's when our body repairs. And so getting good sleep and creating healthy sleep patterns is vital to just that healthy microbiome. And too much stress, if your body is pumping out lots of hormones, specifically cortisol, all the time, that is going to wreak havoc on all of our good bacteria throughout our body. All of these play a key role in just keeping our body and our bacteria happy and healthy and where it needs to be at to thrive. So what else can we do to support the good bacteria? We could lower our stress, of course, all the opposites of what we just went through. And how do we lower our stress? Using your oils, you guys, adaptive, balance, getting good at using these oils on a regular basis and consistent with it. That was something that I took away from convention last year. A few things, actually. Taking your adaptive soft gels daily. If you are someone who struggles with stress and anxiety and tends to just feel all the things, be proactive and preventative in that. And when you wake up in the morning, take 1 to 2 of your adaptive soft gels. Use your adaptive oil, roll it over your neck and on your perfume points. Use your balance and your serenity. Of course, using copaiba is another oil that I love to use in conjunction with adaptive. I'll take sometimes 1 to 2 adaptive, 1 to 2 copaiba soft gels if I am feeling, just extra stress. And then yoga and meditation, anything that can get your body back into that calm and relaxed state. For me, running is such a great stress reliever, and it really balances out my brain and just my stress levels. Getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep is so important, you guys. Most people get about that. And if you're not, I would really recommend that you try and get into some healthy sleep patterns, maybe go to bed a little bit earlier so you get into that circadian rhythm. Turn your screens off earlier, read before bed, wear your blue blockers if you are going to be in front of a screen. And of course, Epsom salt baths are wonderful. Magnesium helps the body to calm down. It's going to help with melatonin production in the evening as well. Serenity soft gels, even adaptive, again, in the evening is wonderful. And then as far as oils go, I love a drop of Melissa oil. Melissa oil comes from the lemon balm tree, and that's actually, it has so many calming and more of a sedative effect to our nervous system. And so 1 drop of Melissa oil and 1 drop of vetiver under your tongue every night before you go to sleep is really helpful for just supporting your body to get into that more calm and relaxed state. And I am a just big promoter of doing things real consistently. And so taking these oils, taking your soft gels, creating a bit of a routine in the morning and in the evening will help your brain to actually know when to shut down and when to ramp up. So create those, taking just 5 deep inhalations of the oils that you're using and really thinking about that feeling of calm and relaxed state that you're wanting to go into, and sleeping deep and waking up rested, visualizing that is going to help your body just to unwind. Eating slowly is probably the number one thing I say to all of my clients, to my kids. Slow down, sit down, eat your food, chew well. Our stomachs actually empty into our GI tract about every 2 hours. So, when we're talking about probiotic use, it's really important that our probiotics, they need to hang out, in that acidic state for a little bit. And that's kind of how they start to work. So if the stomach is constantly being emptied because it's, the body's, you're eating a ton over and over, your body's going to be emptying into your duodenum and your small intestine and so forth. And what's happening is you're not getting that super acidic state. Those probiotics are actually not working properly. And so it is really important to eat, 3 great meals a day and maybe have some snacks in between. If you're constantly eating throughout the day, you're prematurely dumping food into the GI tract before it's ready to be broken down. This is one of the number one issues that I see. So when someone comes to me and we talk about just eating, chewing your food, eating in a calm and relaxed state, which is called a parasympathetic state, we see the body start to break down food better and start absorbing nutrients better. And the whole ripple effect that it has on our whole GI tract is amazing. And so that is really just a super important thing, to just eat slowly, take your time, enjoy your food, and not be in a rush. Stay hydrated. The lack of water can cause tears actually in our GI tract. So hydration equals pliability throughout our whole body. I mean, think about our skin. Think about a dead leaf of a plant. When you look at a plant that needs water, you can see the leaf. It looks super crunchy, and those veins that feed it are like just super crunchy, right? So when you feed the plant, you water it, all of a sudden it becomes soft and pliable and it comes back to life. That goes for our entire body. And I think it's really important to visualize what's happening inside when we don't drink enough. And when we're drinking a lot of things that deplete us of our hydration or cause us to have to pee all the time, and that causes so many issues. Dehydration is a huge issue, and a lot of ailments that people struggle with on a daily basis can actually change significantly with staying hydrated. And taking probiotics, obviously, you want to take your probiotics just prior to your meal. I think it's good to get those probiotics in and allow them to start colonizing and doing what they do and help us start to break down our food properly. Checking for food intolerances is really important, because if you do have foods that are bothering your body, you're causing just basically unnecessary inflammation. And there's a few different ways. I, in my practice, use Creating Balance Health Scans. It tells me all the foods that are causing inflammatory issues in your body, and maybe even some of the environmental issues that you are dealing with. So then changing your diet in congruent with what those are. Eating probiotic rich foods, fermented foods, yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut. You guys, they have so many great brands now that you can actually purchase from grocery stores, usually health food stores. So you're not having to make all of these. When I first started changing the way we were eating, I literally made every single thing in my kitchen. And I did not have one store-bought condiment or anything. And so it's so wonderful that there are so many fermented foods that are so rich in probiotics. And so my rule of thumb really is to have at least a quarter, if not 2/4 sizes of probiotics or fermented foods with all of our meals. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's really going to support just that healthy probiotic throughout the whole body. In fact, they say there's a significant amount more of probiotics in fermented foods than there is in just the supplements that we take. So doing those both is going to be really important, taking both of those. Exercise, of course, it's going to help keep things moving and help things get back constantly into that state of homeostasis. So one thing we must think about is if we don't, like if we're eating, too much, we don't want probiotics to hang out in our gut for too long. We want them to come into the gut, do their thing, and then make their way. So a good probiotic is actually made to not colonize in the gut. And it's just a really important note about doTERRA's specific PB Assist and the PB Assist Junior, that it is very intelligently designed to work with our body to not colonize in the gut. And a lot of probiotics actually end up colonizing in the gut and they don't work properly. So having a really good probiotic is absolutely vital. There are not very many probiotics that I, as a practitioner, recommend, but doTERRA is one of them. So questions about how often to take, doTERRA's is made to be taken daily, not every so often or when you feel like your immune system is shutting down. It's actually meant to be taken daily, and you can take 1 to 2 prior to a meal. This slide, a secret to change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And this is so important. It's a journey, you guys. And the secret to change is to focus really on starting small. Don't beat yourself up about how you used to eat. Pull out little things, one step at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. I think one of the things people initially, they get introduced to doTERRA, our essential oils and all of our supplements, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. I feel overwhelmed. I have all these things that I could change, but it's more important that you just daily start to pull out the things that you're feeling drawn to pull out, and you go from there. And little by little, little becomes a lot. And these little tiny changes that you're creating are going to create just new pathways to health. And just the fact that you're here learning how to create a better gut health is huge, because you are now going to take this information and pass it along to somebody else, right? And so information is so important, and just have grace on yourself because it is such a journey. So if we talk about some of the things that are foundational to gut health and bring in some of doTERRA's products that we have to offer, LLV is, of course, like just the key foundation to good health. You're adding all of your minerals and vitamins that come from whole foods that support healthy gut bacteria because they aren't synthetic. So they're feeding those healthy bacteria. Synthetic vitamins, synthetic additives, they're very stripping and very harsh on our gut. So it's going to help with keeping the body thriving and all the systems healthy and vibrant. Then we have our PB Assist, and of course the PB Assist Junior for kids is going to be key in adding the pre and probiotics, which are important at all ages. So when we're babies, we get a lot of our gut bacteria from birth, from our mother's birth canal. And then as we breastfeed, and it's, babies don't have the colonized gut bacteria that we do as adults. So, and it grows and it changes as they get older. So as a breastfeeding mom, you're passing along those important bacteria to your baby. And as you get older, kids get exposed to these different bacterias and of course viruses naturally at the playground, in the dirt, on the ground, all the things. So, and then of course we supplement, and by eating fermented foods and bringing these types of foods into your kids' diet at an early age is really going to help them to form that really strong immune system. And again, not using, all these chemicals and all these products that are killing our good microbiome on our hands and on our skin. It's important that we create those healthy microbiomes that actually kill bacteria when we come in contact with it. And so the concept of over sanitizing everything in our house with bleach and toxic chemicals not only kills all of that bad bacteria, it leaves a layer of chemicals on counters, and it's so destructive to our microbiomes. It causes all different types of health issues, respiratory issues, chronic disease, and whatnot. So, letting kids, I guess, in short, be exposed to those handrails. I know you might cringe. My husband is a little bit of a germphobe, and he's like the one to push the shopping cart with the inside or the outsides of his sleeves and not touching them. But we all have our things. So I do think it is more important that we allow our kids to just get exposed to all these things, and that helps to really build those healthy immune responses. Terrazyme is helping to feed those healthy microbes. It's helping to clean up the bad bacteria again because of the hydrochloric acid in it. It's creating an environment to help break down foods properly because of all of the different digestive enzymes it has. If you have food intolerances and you're coming in contact with stuff you're eating out or you're splurging, Terrazyme is going to help your body recover from those. And just in general, it's going to help to make your food more bioavailable to your body. I think taking 2 to 3 Terrazyme with every meal is super important. And of course, you want to take your Lifelong Vitality with a full meal as well. It's going to help you to absorb all of the nutrients within it. Okay, so then if we're moving on to the gut-brain axis, I talked a little bit about this with my son. The gut and brain have really a role in every single function in the body. The bad bacteria send different messages to the brain through hormones, through cravings, negative emotions. And so it is really important to understand that if you are eating a really unhealthy diet, you essentially are telling your brain that it needs that food all the time. And if you don't get it, you're going to be cranky, and the side effects become, all different sorts of negative emotions. Of course, stress and anxiety all come in at some point. And it's really, all of these things are from some type of a dysbiosis. So, and that would be an overrun of bad bacteria that is residing in the gut. So it makes you kind of feel sad when you're actually not, or maybe super irritated because you're not, those bacteria aren't getting fed when they want. So as you're helping to heal your gut, you might actually feel some of these emotions come up as you're going through a state of die-off. So maybe you're eliminating sugar out of your diet. You might kind of feel irritated or really irritated. You might feel depressed. You might feel some of these weird emotions that might be not normal for you. And that is actually not you. But it is rather that bacteria, that bad bacteria dying off. And some people will experience headaches or nausea. And that's actually a good thing to keep working through. So if you're like, oh, I need that sugar, or I need that thing, give your body a couple days without it. And what happens is that bad bacteria starts to die off, and then your body stops craving it. So anything that we have had this rut or routine of eating, that's why it's really hard to stop eating it or drinking it, is because your body, you've created this bacteria, and that bacteria craves that food, and even the timing of when you eat it. And so recreating good back habits it takes time, and you have to have grace on yourself. And sometimes just doing other things during that time, if you're trying to cut out alcohol, if you're trying to cut out sugar, just creating a new routine. And honestly, after a couple of weeks of that, you guys, your body stops to crave those, and it gets so much easier mentally. But when we have good bacteria in our gut, and our gut is healthy, we have that opposite effect. We have less bad food cravings, we have less anxiety, we have less stress. Our hormones aren't being pumped through our body, and they're not being manipulated by those just bad bacteria. So the gut and the brain have a role literally in every function of the body again. And so taking a good probiotic is going to really help you stay just in a more zen state in general. Okay, so then if we dive into some of the other products that help with just cleaning up the bad bacteria that might be residing in our gut, we have GX Assist. The GX Assist is great for cleansing the gut. If you have come in contact with maybe some just pathogens and you're feeling kind of yucky, or your immune system isn't even feeling a little funky, GX Assist is a great supplement to take for about 10 days. And I would take 1 to 2 a day. And it's also going to be really cleansing to the gut. It's going to help your body to flush any of maybe that extra yeast or candida that is residing in the gut, and really restart that gut. So talking back to that oil spill in the ocean that has, kind of covered that coral reef, the GX Assist is going to come in and just start to eat up all of that yucky oil spill that is really not allowing that thriving gut lining to heal and do what it needs to do. So GX Assist is very powerful in that way and just restarting the gut. The peppermint soft gels are great for soothing. Peppermint in general is really soothing. It helps with inflammation. And so this is great to add in. It's also great if you are someone who deals with constipation or even diarrhea. Taking it about 20 minutes before you eat is going to help. And you wouldn't be the first person to say that when you took your peppermint enteric coated soft gels, that when you went to the bathroom, you might have felt a bit of a cooling sensation. It happens. Everybody talks about it. I personally haven't experienced it, but it has happened. So don't freak yourself out if you have, I'll say it, a cooling poop. Okay, so ginger is another one that's really great for calming upset stomachs. Celery seed is a newer oil that we have, and it's just so amazing for digestion. I highly recommend that if you are working through digestive issues, you do a drop of ginger and a drop of celery seed every single morning, whether it's under your tongue, maybe in your juice that you just juiced, and that's really going to help your body, again, flush some of that sludge, but it's also going to support just any type of food issue or just discomfort that you might be having and help your whole body, your whole GI system kind of reset. And then if we're talking about food sensitivities, I mean, it really is, you guys, important to avoid them. It's important because, you're causing unneeded inflammation in the body. And if, and people will say, well, how do I know if I have a sensitivity to it? So in order to have an allergy to a food, it has to have a protein present. So you can't be allergic to essential oils. It always makes me laugh when people are like, oh, I think I'm actually allergic to this oil. I'm like, well, you technically can't be allergic to it because there's no protein associated with it. But with food, if there is a protein, then you can have allergies to it. Sensitivities, we can kind of have to lots of things. And your body will tell you. One way that you can tell if you're having a sensitivity is if you eat a food and your heart just starts to race. And it races for maybe 5 to 10 minutes after you have eaten it. So it's that almost that natural inflammation response. Your body starts to it inflames. You're feeling it inflame. So that would be one way. And if it makes you just feel yucky and tired or cranky, that's another sign that you might be having some type of a reaction to a food that you're eating. And again, I love my Creating Balanced Health scans because it really tells me what is bothering my clients, and we can start to weed that out and help to support those issues. And so these sensitivities can honestly over time lead to just massive inflammation. So taking polyphenols or like antioxidants help with just really that biotransformation and bringing the inflammation down and allowing our body to absorb the nutrients it needs. Because if we're talking back into our GI tract, if everything's always inflamed, we're not able to absorb anything. So it's just this bad routine that keeps happening over and over and over. Okay, so immunity in the gut. So 70% of our immune system is in our gut. We actually have we have immune cells that just are, they line all through our GI. It's just like loaded with immune cells, more than any other area in the body. And yes, we do have immune cells like in our lymphatic system, but the majority are really found in our gut. So when we're constantly eating these foods that are causing us to be inflamed, we're constantly telling our immune system to be fighting and to be acting up. And so our cells are weakened because of that. And so there is this whole concept of making sure that we're supporting all of that, because in our whole anti-inflammatory and inflammatory process in the body gets all messed up. And so what happens as a result is our immune systems are constantly firing, and that's a huge issue. Okay, so the products that we would take for just supporting those more healthy immune responses is helping to bring down the inflammation in the body. So polyphenols, antioxidants are going to do that. So doTERRA's Deep Blue polyphenol complex is really wonderful at just supporting those healthy inflammatory responses throughout the body. And even better is taking it with your PB assist, because that PB assist is also going to help you break down the nutrients that's in that deep blue, so it's actually absorbable into the body. So really that combination is very important. And if you do deal with unhealthy immune responses or different chronic diseases, taking deep blue, taking 1 to 2, like maybe 3 times a day might be what you need. And it's just packed full of really great, healthy, immune supporting, anti-inflammatory ingredients. I'm like, what is the word I'm looking for? Okay. So talking even further about supporting our immune system, we have our On Guard soft gels. I don't know if you guys remember, but during convention last year, Dr. Nicole, she is one of our researchers, scientists in doTERRA. She was talking about adding this into she was doing a cell culture essay on how this really upregulated our immune system, and it majorly supports our immune response, a healthy immune response. So our On Guard Plus actually has black pepper in it. It has Melissa oil in it, to make it really a super strong antimicrobial, and antiviral and antiparasitic, which then in turn is really supporting our immune system, and just being that backup for our immune system. And of course, GX Assist is great for helping to cleanse the gut, and create just a healthy environment, because you're cleaning out those bad bacteria, those bad yeasts, candida and whatnot. And then we have our turmeric that we know is anti-inflammatory. So many people take turmeric. The problem is that turmeric in general is not very bioavailable, and it has to have a fat present. So doTERRA's is very bioavailable because of the dual chamber. So it's the oil and the powder that make it super bioavailable to our body and helps just with that healthy inflammatory response. And it's also, it helps systematically. So, you might be looking to support inflammation in general, but if you have joint pain and whatnot, it's actually going to help to get to that root cause of that joint pain and support healthy joints, and that targeted inflammation throughout the body. And then let's see, moving on. So for temporary relief of digestion, we have our DigestZen, we have our tummy, we have our Tamer blend, we have the Digest tabs and the Terrazyme. Our DigestZen is wonderful, especially the touch for just rolling over, just if your stomach is bugging you. My husband this morning was like, where's the DigestZen roller? I need it. My stomach is bugging me. And then we have the Tamer blend, which a lot of people actually like a lot better. It's a little bit tamer than the DigestZen. And I think too, it's actually wonderful, total mom hack to roll it on your lips for just fresh breath, but it's also supporting just healthy digestion. And the Digest tabs are are great for temporary relief from acid reflux. The problem with acid reflux is that your body doesn't have, it's not creating enough hydrochloric acid on its own. So taking Terrazyme is going to help to get to the root cause of your acid reflux. So digest tabs are not something I personally recommend unless someone is really suffering. But it is good to have that. It's in replace of like your Tums, if you will. Great, but it's not gonna, it's kind of masking the root cause. It's gonna give you some relief, which we need that sometimes, right? Sometimes we have to take Advil for headaches because we need the temporary relief, but we also need to also get back to the root cause of what's going on, so it doesn't become something chronic. So taking Terrazyme 2 to 3 with each meal is probably going to help you to eliminate having that acid reflux, and you won't have to take the digest tabs. Um, and then lastly, you guys, I just want to touch on 4 oils that are so important for just additional gut support. We have ginger. It's going to help with healthy inflammation. If you do have indigestion, it's going to help with that as well. Leaky gut, malabsorption, help to seal the gut up, help to support just gut health. Basil is going to help with bowel inflammation, diverticulitis, it's going to really, it's like that natural antibiotic. Then we have cinnamon bark. This is going to help repair just those tight junctions that we talked about. Make sure that that wall is nice and tight, nothing's getting in and out. If there are issues, it's going to help the body to, get to that cellular level and repair those tight junctions. So our gut health in general is thriving. It's going to actually help to stimulate gastric juices. It increases digestion in general. And I just love cinnamon bark. If you guys haven't added this, it's so good. It's so sweet. It's actually wonderful in tea. It's wonderful in oatmeal in the mornings. Oh, I love it. Oregano is really going to help to combat those bad bacterias, those viruses, those bacteria, those parasites that we come in contact with. So you guys, that was a mouthful. And I hope that you leave now knowing all of these incredible supplements, incredible oils that you have at your fingertips to really support your health, your family's health, and those people that you are sharing oils with. And I hope this was helpful for you. And don't forget to take your Digestin and your PB Assist and your Terrazyme with your meals, and just support that healthy response and the healthy immune response, as well as that healthy gut response. So hope you all had a great time, and I hope you learned something new. Bye.